Survivor Series WarGames 2025. High points, low points. This show was a roller coaster, and I mean that in the most, I don't know whether to cheer or throw my phone way possible. Because listen, when the show hit, it absolutely hit. There were some great spots that happened at WarGames this year, star making moments, major potential returns, and chaos by a trash can. No pun intended. But there were also some head scratchers, booking choices that kind of felt off, momentum killers, and maybe a finish or two that left me staring at the screen like, really? That's how we're going to end this? So today we're breaking it all down, the highs, the lows, the wild moments, and what this whole night means as we head into the Royal Rumble season. This is your Survivor Series War Games Fallout. All right, here's what we're hitting today. A full recap of every match from WarGames 2025, the fallout of it, the storyline, the storytelling choices, and where things could go next. But before we do that, a quick moment in WWE history this week. November 18th, 2012, The Shield had arrived. Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, and Dean Ambrose stormed the main event at Survivor Series. This moment was so massive, we will always feel its impact that they had in WWE. And it's kind of poetic that we're talking about War Games Fallout in the same week that the Shield debuted, or within a couple of weeks, loosely, because this year's Survivor Series was all about chaos, factions, and shifting power. All right, it is time for our main event. Let's go ahead and get into it. Let's start off with the first match. We had the women's War Games match. We had AJ Lee, Rhea Ripley, Io Sky, Alexa Bliss, and Charlotte Flair taking on Becky Lynch, Asuka, Kairi Sane, Nia Jax, and Lash Legend. We all know the result with AJ Lee did have Becky Lynch submit. And what worked in this match for me, Io Sky's trash can or bucket spot, whatever you want to call it, stole, I think, the oxygen out of the stadium, because when she's standing up there on top of that cage, grabbing the bucket or trash can and placing it over her while standing on top of that cage, which the width is not wide at all. My hands are getting sweaty now talking about it. That moment, I think, stole the show. The match, I think, the chemistry was, I think AJ getting the tap out gives her momentum going into 2026 if she were to continue with WWE at a full-time rate. What really missed, I thought the pacing got choppy. And I know it's hard with War Games because there's just so many bodies in the ring. Yeah, so many bodies in two rings. Boy, I can't talk today. I think also Becky losing via tap out kind of may divide some of us. Some people say, oh yeah, it's great. It's a great storyline for AJ Lee to have her tap out. To me, it's like, what are we doing to Becky now? AJ Lee, if she wants to come back, she could be a true power player. But does Becky Lynch now need a character reset, or is she just going to continue the ranting and raving towards Adam Pearce? We'll have to find out. Next up, we had the Intercontinental Championship. John Cena versus Dominic Mysterio. Dominic Mysterio did win the Intercontinental title. A huge shock value. And I think Cena giving Dom the rub, this rub is massive. You had the lie, cheat, steal homage, which played beautifully. And of course, we had a huge return with Liv Morgan, and everybody popped, including myself, my wife, and my two little girls. It's crazy to think how far Liv has come, and she deserves all the flowers in the world to put in that work, considering what all she came from with the Riot Squad. Everybody's got their place to start somewhere. And just to kind of see through the years, the character development and the wrestling development in the ring has just gotten so much better with her. Now, within this match, there was heavy interference, which I do think overshadowed Dom's moment. Again, strictly my opinion. It was pretty cool to see some of the girls put their moves on Cena. Of course, Cena is such a good guy and is willing to go out of his way to not make the moment all about him. Cena losing on kind of a comedy style finish isn't for everybody. So the fallout here is Dominic is now a certified single star. Some of them already thought he was. I think this put the stamp on it. And unfortunately, Cena's retirement arc is it's too real at this point. Too real. And I'm not ready to admit it, just like most of you. we're just going to say this is all a Mark Henry moment, and he's just going to continue and maybe turn heel again. Whatever it takes to keep John Cena in the ring. He can be any character he wants. I'll be okay with it. Next up, we had the Women's World Championship. We had Stephanie Vaquer, current title holder, versus Nikki Bella. The result is Stephanie Vaquer did retain. Thank God. What worked? Stephanie Vaquer continues to stay and look dominant. Nikki maybe had a little bit of a pop. And what missed was the lack of chemistry was noticeable. Nikki's selling inconsistencies really stuck out. And you guys know this if you follow me on Instagram or listen to other podcasts. I am a very, very hard critic on Nikki Bella. Her matches have gotten better. I think this match wasn't too bad. I didn't understand the title push for her. It's one thing to bring her back, but to insert her in a title push, and I know behind the scenes that was probably the deal. It's for Stephanie Vaquer's perspective, that does nothing for her development or her title reign. However, Vaquer I still think remains the standard with that title. Nikki likely transitions out of title contention. Hopefully after this, she can stay on. That's fine, but having her in the title picture right now is does not sit well with me. Next up, we had the men's War Games match. This was the main event. Of course, you had Division along with Logan Paul. Maybe you can consider him with Division now. And then Drew McIntyre and the Beast Incarnate, Brock Lesnar, taking on CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, and the Uso brothers, Jay and Jimmy. Now, the result, we know Division did win after a masked man interference. Now, what worked in this match? Well, for one, stadium presentation I thought was electric. The ramp was interesting, straight down and then turning. I do think it kind of had more of an intimate feel, even though it's in a baseball stadium, at least on maybe not being there. I don't know, depending on where your seats were, but watching on TV kind of felt a little more intimate. And each wrestler in that main event that came out, their presentation is just fantastic. You love to see the entrances and the crowd reactions. But the masked man reveal created instant buzz. Well, I'll get into that in a minute. Reed Breaker and Logan Paul came out looking elevated. What missed? Again, it's a War Games match. You're going to have a lack of chemistry, especially in long stretches and guys taking breaks. You had some near injuries that made parts of the match kind of uncomfortable, especially with Braun Breaker looking like he almost broke his neck. You hate to see that, and it happens. The finish was hot, and I also think it was a booking shortcut. The division becomes a top-tier faction once again. The Punk Cody Roman side now deals with fractures, and the masked man angle becomes a major thread moving forward. Who could it be? Now, I did put a selfie video on Instagram recently, with my top 5 of who it could be. You should go back and look at it. But some names I also want to throw out there. Austin Theory, that seems to be what most people think who it is. I also threw out the ideas of Carmelo Hayes. That would be a great spot for him. Trick Williams, time for him to get a main roster call-up. This could be a good spot for it. I really like Montez Ford. I think he could be a perfect fit to join a group, but then elevate to that singles career, just kind of like that next step for him. Because I think he has all of it, just has to get there and get an opportunity. And then also you have, some people are saying John Moxley. I can't see that happening. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? And also another one is Buddy Murphy. Now, Buddy Murphy, I think, is a great dark horse. Several of you have sent that my way. I've also seen it with other predictions. And we all know Buddy and Rhea Ripley are together. So it makes sense, at least behind the scenes. And it may make sense storyline-wise because Buddy Murphy can scale a cage just as quick as some of those other guys, and he has the build, at least based on all of the body armor they're wearing. Or maybe they just hired an actor to go scale it, do that move, and they still haven't decided yet who it's going to be. Who knows? WWE has all the marbles. Everything's in their core. They can do whatever they want at this point. We just have to go along with it. But it's always fun to speculate on who it could be. All right. Next up, we have the Crowd Speaks segment. Now, this is where I ask for your input, your review, your unfiltered review and hot take on Survivor Series WarGames 2025. So let's get into it. First one we have is at Josh Jennings _ fan page. Survivor Series WarGames was solid. The women's match stole the show, and Theory is the mystery man. Josh kicking things off strong, and honestly, I think he's right. I think the women's match was overall a great match, and the theory chatter just keeps growing. It's not going away, so I think there's legs to that. Next up, we have had Jesse Uribe 2000. Sorry about that. Jesse went on to say it could have been better. I guess that's the nicest way I think to say mid I've ever heard. So respect to Jesse on that. Next up, we have at Marcel underscore SCR0309. He went on to say the opener was mid, Cena match 10 out of 10. Vacare versus Bella is boring. Main event good with storytelling. Now, what I just read, I think Marcel handed out a Yelp review, a mid appetizer, great entree, a rough dessert, and an emotional finale. That is accurate. Next up, we have at Ryan Hayes. He went on to say Cena versus Dom was easily the best match of the night. Everything else is mediocre at best. Now, I agree. And when Dom Mysterio is carrying a pay per view or a PLE, what a time to be alive. All right, next up we have at Stealth Wrestling, and he gave quite a review of the matches. Let's get into it. For the women's war games, he went on to say women's steel cage match was sick. Io's trash can spot was wild. AJ tapping out. Becky looked great. The whole match had phenomenal chemistry. The consensus is strong. This match did deliver, I would say. Stealth Wrestling went on to critique the Vacare Nikki Bella match. Mediocre. No chemistry. Nikki no-sold a lot of Stephanie's moves, and you could tell Stephanie was pissed. Yeah, it was hard to miss. You can go back and watch. There's a spot where Stephanie Vacare is clearly frustrated with Nikki Bella. And it's just, again, like I said earlier, time to move on from Nikki Bella. You know, have her be a manager of somebody, but let's keep her out of the ring. Stealth Wrestling also went on to say Cena versus Dom was dope as hell. The homage to Eddie was great. Roxanne and Raquel beating up Cena was hilarious. Liv Morgan returning was sweet. I think this match did overperform flat out, so I totally agree with you on that. Stealth Wrestling went on to say men's war games match, not the best match. No chemistry, lots of near injuries. The masked man was the only cool thing. My guess is Ambrose or Theory. You know, when the mystery man is the highlight, that kind of says everything about the match itself. So that's kind of why I said earlier I thought it was a shortcut ending to that match. And then Stealth Wrestling did add a disclaimer at the end of his review and said, this is just my opinion. Don't shoot the messenger. LOL. Never. That's what the crowd speak segment is for. And thank you, all of you, for your input. And before you go, I got one quick favor. If you out there listening are enjoying this podcast, if you haven't already, hit that follow button. Please drop a review on Spotify or Apple Podcast. To you, it may feel insignificant or small, but these reviews tell the platforms, hey, this Pro Wrestling Escape podcast is actually doing pretty well. Let's show this to more wrestling fans out there. That's going to help us grow, get your takes featured in Crowd Speaks every week, and just to keep this community rolling as I continue to grow. And I do have a roadmap for 2026 that will have even more to come. I appreciate every single one of you out there. This is your Pro Wrestling Escape.